everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to create some of Natasha's hearts. That's right. This is one of my more favorite things to do with Natasha. And right here, what you're going to do is you're just taking, I'm using scrap clay, take a wad of it, make it into a ball, and then eventually here, create a teardrop with it. Once you have that, lay that on your surface, make sure it's kind of centered, and then with your blade, go straight down the middle and cut straight down. Pull those apart and mirror them. Now this is going to give you the formation or the start of the formation of your Natasha heart. Once you have that mirrored up really nice, flip this over and then put that on the surface of your tile. Pat it down so it adheres really nicely to your tile. This is important. You need to do that because what you want to do here is like I'm taking the blade here and I'm kind of bringing it up against each other so it conforms real nice. The reason why you want it down and pat it down so well is when you go in with your blade, you're going to go horizontally, you're going to cut off the humps on the very back here. You want to make sure that that heart is kind of nice and tight to that tile when you go to do this. Now sometimes that the humps on the top of the heart might kind of deform a little bit. If that happens, just go ahead and lightly, gently push that clay back up, especially like right in here where I see I kind of got a little deformation. Just bring that up. And then lift the heart off the surface, just like I did there with my blade, and then place it back down your surface and cut off the sides here so you get a very definitive bottom end to your heart. And this will give you that heart in Natasha from scrap clay. Okay, so I wanted to go ahead and do that Natasha one more time, but this time I'm twisting it right here. So when you make that ball, I'm twisting the clay one direction, so that way then all of the colors kind of flow one direction. And we're just going to see if that makes any kind of a difference in the pattern when you go ahead and create this particular Natasha heart. Again, I'm taking my blade and I'm just going to cut right down the center. And I'm going to peel that apart. And there's your pattern. Oh, it's a really nice pattern. I love it. Anyway, again, I'm pushing that down onto my tile surface, making it sure it's tight, using my blade to flatten it together so it adhered a little bit more. And then again, once I get that done, I'm going to cut those humps off the back. And I'm going to do it in a number of cuts. This way then I don't deform the heart right away. If you cut too far into that, it can deform the humps on the heart and it will just it won't work so well. So that's why take it easy, do a little at a time. All right, now again, I'm flipping it back over and you can kind of see I have a lot of this kind of stringent clay on the outside. This is why I like to take it off because I don't necessarily want that. I want a nice fine point on this heart and I want more of a pattern where it's not just looking like it's flowing off the side there. Okay, so we're now going to go ahead and do the same technique, but we're going to use one of my cane ends. And this was from a Kaleidoscope cane again. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to twist this particular cane in one direction. So all those little lines are going to flow horizontally, if you will, when we go ahead and twist this. And I'm going to keep twisting it around and around. And when you get this twisted enough where you're like, okay, I'm happy with that twist, go ahead and make sure that you start to roll it then into a ball. That's what you're going to wind up doing. So I'm punching this down a little bit and I'm getting that twist really nice and tight, and then right here I start to roll it into that ball. Once I roll it into that ball, that gives me that hump I'm going to need, and then you're going to have those lines which are running kind of horizontal start to take the one end where it's not bulbous or in that rounded part and make it more into that teardrop. Once you have that, you're going to take that blade, and again, if you want to twist up just a little bit more, that works too. Get a nice fine point, take your blade, cut right down the center, and then lift that out, and then you open it up. Oh, yes. I would say out of the different hearts that you do, this is my favorite one. I don't know if it's just because it's a cane end or what, but I like this particular type. Once again, I'm adhering that to the surface of my tile real nice and snug, so it adheres good, and then I'm just slicing down towards it, horizontally towards me, taking those humps off. Notice the pattern you get even from the back side. I just absolutely love this particular one. It always looks so nice, no matter which way you go. And then of course, I'm just kind of flattening it up, lift it up off your surface, and then when you come in here, you go ahead and you just kind of define up that point on the bottom end. Now, this is the one thing about doing it from a cane end is I really don't want to take a lot of this off because it looks so good. But if you can get a nice point on this, I definitely suggest doing so. Okay, so we're going to do our next Natasha from scratch. So that means we're going to be using solid color clays. And right here you could kind of see I'm taking each of these clays, you know, red, yellow, blue, my black, my white, and I'm rolling them all up into logs. I was thinking about just taking them just like, okay, chop it all up, just throw it together. But I thought, no, let's go ahead and take a little bit of different tact to this. So I'm taking my red, taking my blue, and I'm going to take these, put these right together. So it's like I'm going to be creating one single solid log with all these colors just in different places. And once I have that all together, you can see it's all wadded together. I'm going to roll it up into a log and then I'm going to twist it. So I'm twisting right here. I flipped it over, I curled it around, twisted it again, and just keep with that twist and keep going with that a little bit more, flattening it down, rolling it into that ball, and again, twisting where I could. And then once I have that ball done, and I have that little bit of a hump on the one end where it's a little bulbous, you're going to go ahead and create another one of those crazy little teardrops. So right here, creating that teardrop with that twist. And then once I have that twist, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to cut down right in the center and then pull it apart. And there is your Natasha from scratch. Now if you want to, you could go ahead and cut up the clay from scratch and see what happens there too, but I really liked the twist effect. I think it gives it a nice look. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take some scrap clay and we're going to use this in concert with some clay that hasn't been mixed yet. So from scratch, if you will. So scratch and scrap heart. And I'm just taking a little bit off here and there. I like to, if I can try and cut off pieces or areas of my scrap clay that I like better, that's what I'll do. Again, I'm bringing in solid color here, so I've got some blue and I'm just kind of dicing that up, rolling the scrap clay around into the regular colors and just kind of making a mix and match, if you will, for creating this next heart. Now the thing is with this particular heart, it works best if you have some scratch clay that is, or I should say scrap clay, that is so fine in the scrap that the next step in trying to even do a Natasha in this clay would you turn up with mud. So instead of taking it that far, this is where when you use scratch clay, or from scratch, just solid colors, can help that pattern out a lot. And this way then it's almost like it defines up the pattern a little bit and it makes it a lot more interesting. So you can pull this back from the brink just like right here. You can see the really defined areas, but then you can see the solid colors where it helps it out and gives the eye a little bit of a rest when you're looking at it. So I really like this particular feature. So if you ever get to scratch or scrap clay and you're like, okay, this is going to go to mud next, use some solid color and mix it in. I think you'll find that you'll really like it. So right here I am showing you all 5 hearts. Now let's do something a little fun with these. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create some pendants out of these hearts. And the first thing you're going to need are some eye pins. So I have some eye pins here. Notice I took one of them and I kind of just folded it a little bit in half so you get this little hook thing on the bottom end. That's very important because you want this to sink in to the heart right on the top where it joins up, and you're going to push it down. I'm using my needle nose plier there, kind of push it down into the heart. And that way then I have a little loop on the back there. And once I do that, I'm going to throw a jump ring on it. And this way then you can turn this into a little heart pendant, no problem. Now, if you are wondering too why, I made a little hook on the eye pin for this heart, it was so the eye pin would be anchored into the heart and it would not slip out. If you leave the eye pin straight when you push it into the Natasha heart, it will hold for a little while, but eventually it will slip off the eye pin and then you'll have to even glue it in. And I've glued these in, straight, but the glue will eventually give way too. So you really need to create that little hook on the back so that we'll make sure that the eye pin will not come out of your Natasha heart pendant. All right, so now that I've got that eye pin, you can see that crease on the back side of those, we're going to take a little bit of scrap clay and we're going to fill in the crease. Now I do this with all of my hearts. I mean, the back side I'm not really looking at. It is very pretty on some of them, but I will take scrap clay and I'll run it along the crease like I'm doing right here, and I'll even cut away the bulbous part that sits up. And the reason why I do that is so it fills in really nice and it takes that crease off. Plus, when I do this, it also keeps that eye pin more anchored and even more secure. Okay, so now let's go ahead and add a little bling to this whole thing. So I'm going to add in some rhinestones, and I like to put them right down the center of my heart. So if I've got a little bit of that eye pin showing in the back side, I'll go ahead and run that right down the center, especially from the top. And this way then that bling will just look like it was supposed to be there. You can also put these rhinestones anywhere on this heart. So say you don't want to run it right down the center, you could do it off to the side, whatever you wish to do. So have a little bit of fun and try doing this. All right, so here's my example of all the different Natasha hearts I created in this video. Please use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. And as always, I'm sending out my biggest hugs to each of you, and I hope you have a fantastic day.